Coming up on Mountain News at 6, one person is dead after a house fire in Harlan County. We'll have the very latest. And officials in another eastern Kentucky city are asking folks to conserve water.
And in the world of weather, some places right now seeing a little bit of rain, others seeing some snow. Matter of fact, some places have already picked up a couple of inches. Details coming up right now.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
The weather is getting nasty yet again, but this time we might see more rain than snow, at least in this part of Kentucky, before another shot of cold air. Meteorologist Eric Dean has the latest on this First Alert Weather Day.
That's right, Steve. We're going to see mainly rain, especially south of the Howell Rogers Parkway. North of the Howell Rogers Parkway will be mainly snow. We're getting some snowfall totals in across the northern portion of the Commonwealth. Maysville has already picked up around 2 inches of snow. We'll move over towards the Cincinnati area. Union, just over 2 inches, 2.1 to be exact. That's no report south of the one I'm showing you is picking up 2.2 inches. Then we move over into portions of Indiana near the Batesville area. A different story, just under 1 inch of snow. Now, why am I showing that? Because take a look here at the radar scan. This is Louisville right now, and you're noticing that snow pushing from Jefferson County all the way over towards portions of Fayette County, and again, Cincinnati, south of Cincinnati along I-75, seeing some heavy snow. A different story here. We're seeing mainly rain, maybe a little bit of a wintry mix in the upper elevations in our Virginia counties, but we're seeing some good old-fashioned rain. The downside to that, though, is anything that melts does have a chance to refreeze as we go into the evening and overnight hours. We're going to get on the back end of a low pressure system, which is going to shift that wind out of the north and the northwest and keep us cool for your Wednesday going into Thursday. Now, somewhere on the 10-day, I've got 50s somewhere, and that's going to feel like a nice heat wave, and I'll tell you when that's going to take place coming up in the First Alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
That will certainly feel warm. Eric, thank you. Well, we have seen fire after fire in eastern Kentucky the last few weeks, including 2 major downtown business fires and several home fires. Unfortunately, some of those have turned deadly. The latest was in Harlan County. WYMT's Neely Green talked to police about what happened.
Monday night, Kentucky State Police responded to a call of a house fire at 229 Shell Hollow Road in Harlan County.
It was a brother and sister who was inside this residence when it caught on fire. The brother was able to get out of the residence, but unfortunately the sister didn't make it.
That person was identified as 62-year-old Judy Holden. Jacob says while they are still investigating the cause of her death and the cause of the fire, they do know there was a heat source coming from the living room.
Please be mindful of exactly what you're using, how you're using this, whether it's extension cords, with propane, whatever it may be inside this in your homes. Please be mindful of what you're doing.
While this particular incident happened around 9 p.m., time does not play a role when a fire occurs.
And these fires could start up at any time. It doesn't have to just be nighttime. It could be any part of the day, and that's why it's very important that we want you to be very alert, aware of your surroundings and what's going on inside your residence at all times.
Jacob says they see many fires this time of year due to the cold weather. He says this is not the only one they've responded to in the last week.
It's a very sad day here, and not only in Harlan County, but we have one in Knox County, and we are praying for both those families. When someone such as this tragic loses their life just overnight, an unexpected way, it's very hard for not only the family, but first responders who are responding to those events.
In Harlan County, Neely Green, WYMT Mountain News.
66-year-old Catherine Smith died in that Knox County fire that happened last Thursday. Also in Harlan County, state police are asking for help again finding a 30-year-old man who went missing years ago. Here's a picture of Elgin Parton. They say he was last seen in July of 2022. Troopers say the case is still active and they are still seeking information from the public. When he disappeared, Parton was 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighed about 143 pounds. They say he has brown hair and blue eyes. If you have any information, you're asked to contact the Harlan KSP Post at 606-573-3131. Meanwhile, police in Whitley County are also looking for a missing man. This is 59-year-old Clifford Nance. Deputies say he was last seen leaving his home on Highway 26 yesterday morning, heading for Somerset. They say he was driving a silver 2020 Chevy. If you have any information about this case, call Whitley County 911 dispatch at 606-549-6017. In Wayne County, Kentucky, a woman is facing charges after police say she was beating on a door with a hammer and causing a disturbance. Police were called to a home just after midnight on Swifton Drive. They say when they got there, Victoria Roberts was outside screaming with a hammer while neighbors watched the disturbance unfold. After police saw dents in the door, Roberts admitted she caused them. Roberts is facing terroristic threatening charges, among others. One Knox County man is facing charges after police found marijuana as well as a quantity of what they thought was meth and drug paraphernalia in his home. Police went to the home of David Barnes on Sea Mills Road in the Cannon community as part of an ongoing investigation. Police also found a loaded handgun and shotgun while searching Barnes's home. Barnes was charged with trafficking marijuana, possession of drug paraphernalia, and tampering with evidence. In McCreary County, a man and woman were sentenced after being convicted for trafficking meth. Shannon O'Regan was sentenced to 17 years in prison. Nancy O'Regan was sentenced to 7 years. Both were also convicted for being a felon in possession of a handgun. The two were arrested last year. Attorney General Russell Coleman is asking the Public Service Commission to not increase rates at all for Kentucky Power customers. Coleman says the latest proposal from the company is unsustainable and would result in customers moving out of the region or possibly even out of Kentucky. As we told you yesterday, 2 lawmakers in Frankfort have also filed a House bill focused on lowering the cost of electricity. Of course, that video from recent public meetings held with the PSC about the Kentucky Power rate increase proposal. Well, the city of Whitesburg has been under a boil water advisory for more than 1 week now, and earlier today, officials began urging residents to conserve water. WYMT's McKinley Calandrino spoke to officials on what this means for Whitesburg families.
Officials with the city of Whitesburg posted on Facebook that residents should begin watching how they use water as much as possible. Chris Cottle, the public works director, says due to the cold temperatures, the plant has struggled with treating the water, which is why the city has been under a boil water advisory for more than a week, and freezing temperatures causing pipes to burst.
We've had a couple leaks, and it's depleted our tanks a little bit lower than what we're comfortable with. We're not out of water, but our tanks are low, and like I said, it's just because of the cold weather.
Officials say one of their tanks was washed away in the 2022 flood, and another needs to be replaced, leaving them to rely on one main tank, which also feeds 3 other tanks.
That's where we're using caution. Just the supply and the storage is just not there.
While folks should not be alarmed yet, Cottle says he considers this a serious situation, and that is why residents are urged to conserve water.
If we have another bad leak and it takes us a couple hours to find it, we could be out of water. Thankfully, it's warming up a little bit. The temperature coming up is going to help the situation for sure.
Hoping this will only last a few days, and reminding families that it's the simple things that could help water levels tremendously.
If you don't have to do four loads of laundry, do maybe just 1, like I said, try not to let your water run during the night. If everybody backed off, 20%, that would make a world of difference. So.
In Letcher County, McKinley Calandrino, WYMT Mountain News.
And as a reminder, instead of dripping water to prevent frozen pipes, officials in several towns urge you to leave your cabinets open to allow heat in your house to get into those cold spots instead of dripping the faucets. Several school districts in Kentucky have not had in-person classes since last month's first winter storm. With more snow in the forecast for some, several school districts are weighing when it is best to use NTI days versus snow days. NTI days cost districts money, and these costs are different for each district. For instance, Dr. Demetrius Liggins, who is the superintendent for Fayette County Public Schools, says NTI days cost his district more than $200,000 each day. For Montgomery County schools, however, the only losses they see is through their nutrition department.
It counts as an instructional day, but kids aren't there eating breakfast or lunch, and so they lose on their reimbursable meals piece. So for a district our size, it's roughly between $15,000 and $20,000.
District leaders say regardless of an NTI or regular snow day, the safety of students and staff is always the priority.
Well, the good news is we made it above freezing. Made it to 40 today, the first time since January 25th we got above freezing. 30 was our morning start, but we're going to cool off again. Details on the First Alert forecast coming up.
Plus, crews rescue a teenager after they slid down a steep hillside in southern Kentucky.